Right now,
Today
53.
we'll tackle tough times in
The
California.
economic troubles facing San Diego will be the focus of Mayor Jerry Sanders' annual State of the
Office
City
reports
address.
a 60% hike in rapes where either one or both people.
Process. UCLA researchers tracked the progress of 50 sarcoma patients using
From the KPBS studios, this is San Diego Week.
Hello, I'm Joanne Ferrian. Thanks for joining us. Escondido's police chief speaks out on a new immigration policy and whether it will affect the infamous DUI check stops in his town. Also, San Diego's last two card rooms may have to fold because of a city law from the 1980s. That's coming up on San Diego Week. But first, the headlines. We go to Dwayne Brown in the news center.
The water off Mission Beach, Joanne, has been closed for 2 days because of a shark sighting. Shark fins were spotted on Thursday afternoon and Friday morning. San Diego lifeguards say they believe the sharks were great whites, and they closed off a 2-mile stretch of the coastline. Shark experts say the sightings aren't unusual for this time of year. Lifeguards expect to reopen the water on Saturday. San Diego's new city council districts are now a done deal. City Council approved the new map on Thursday. It creates a new 9th district and rearranges the other 8 districts. Councilwoman Marty Emerald says she will run for the new 9th district seat. The new map was approved after 44 public meetings. San Diego County's law enforcement agencies are stepping up security in preparation for the 10th anniversary of 9/11. The public and city and county workers are an important part of the plan. A new program called See Something, Say Something encourages people to report suspicious activities, such as someone taking photos of a military installation or asking for details about security. While there are no terror alerts in effect right now, the FBI says Americans won't be the only ones marking the 9/11 anniversary.
Al-Qaeda and others have always had a fascination with significant dates in history, and this is certainly one in everyone's mind.
The San Diego Law Enforcement Coordination Center has posted a video called The 8 Signs of Terrorism to tell folks what to watch out for. You can find it online at readysandiego.org. More San Diego high school students are making the grade on the high school exit exam. San Diego Unified School District says 85% of 10th graders passed the math portion of the test. 82% passed English. That's better than last year's class, and it's the first time San Diego students haven't lagged behind their peers statewide. Students must pass the exam to graduate. California college students could face more cuts, higher fees, and fewer classes. Chancellors for both of California's public university systems say they're making plans to cope with mid-year budget cuts because state tax revenues were lower than expected. The warning comes just as San Diego State students are getting ready to start the fall semester on Monday. A federal mediator will join talks on Monday to avert a grocery strike here in Southern California. Union workers for Ralph's, Vons, and Albertsons overwhelmingly approved a strike vote recently. The major sticking point is health care benefits for grocery workers. I asked these shoppers in the college area if they'd be willing to pay more for groceries if it meant better benefits for grocery store workers.
Not necessarily, no. I feel like groceries are already expensive enough, and we are pretty much self-employed, so we're pretty much paying out of pocket, for our own insurance. We don't have any help, so.
If it goes up a buck or two, yeah, I think I could afford that. Any more than that, I'd probably just skip out on it, and it'd be more cost effective to go eat out.
Having worked in the healthcare field, I understand the desperate need that many people are in when they can't get health care. So if paying a little bit more for groceries means these people get decent health care, I would be willing to do that right away.
The last grocery strike in 2004 was over the same issue, health care. It lasted more than 4 months. I'm Dwayne Brown in the KPBS News Center.
As you heard a moment ago, the city of San Diego has a new political map. There is now a brand new district and a district that is expected to give the growing Asian community a political voice. District 6 now includes Mira Mesa, Miramar, and Claremont Mesa. The neighborhoods together have a 34% Asian population. However, the new boundaries did exclude much of Rancho Penasquitos, which made some people unhappy.
I think they made a mistake. I think they discounted hundreds of people who went down to the last 3 meetings and testified and told them we don't want our community split. I think they discounted, even more importantly, 5,600 plus signatures from members of our community that basically just said, we want one Rancho Penasquitos and we want to be in the proposed District 5. Those 5,600 signatures were more people than this commission heard from the entire 8 to 10 months of testimony they've taken, emails they've received, written comments they've received, and other petitions from other communities they've received. Those 5,600 are more than all of that combined, and they completely discounted it as if it didn't happen.
For a look at how this new 9th district changes the political landscape in San Diego, we turn to Metro reporter Katie Orr. Katie, we just heard about the new district. So now we have a total of 9 city council districts instead of 8. How does this change the political dynamic at City Hall?
Well, Joanne, it adds one more person to the discussion. Right now, there are 8 city council members, so often we can have tie votes on issues. This adds another person to help break those ties. As well, it gives the mayor more power. Before, the mayor's veto could be easily overridden by the city council, but now with the addition of the 9th council member, the council will need a 2/3 majority to override the mayor's veto. So it really does make the mayor stronger. The strong mayor gives him a lot more power.
Now, in order to create a 9th district, other districts must have been effective. Which district or city council member will be affected most by these changes?
Well, a couple council members find themselves in a bit of an odd position. For instance, Todd Gloria, he represents currently District 3, and he lives in City Heights. However, when these new lines go into effect, District 3 will no longer be in his district, so he will have to move. So if he wants to keep representing District 3, he will have to move. Also, Councilwoman Marty Emerald, there has been some talk that she might move to go and try and represent the new District 9. Also, Council Member Lori Zapp, she will no longer live in her district. However, she will be able to continue serving out her term, and then once that term is over, she will have to decide whether or not to run for the district she is now living in or move to continue to try and represent her old district.
So we were showing people at home a map of these new districts, and they can see the new boundaries, but they're probably wondering, how does this affect my council member? Ultimately, how does it affect how they represent me? And why was this process so important?
Well, this process was unique because this was the first time in decades that the city had created a new district. So it was an opportunity for people who thought that maybe they weren't being represented as well as they could be to step up and really take more of the power in City Hall. And that's why we see so many different groups coming out and being so passionate about trying to get represented. This is a unique time in San Diego. Normally, they just tweak the boundaries a little bit, but this is the first time, as I said, in decades that they've actually created a new district.
And of course, we did see that public reaction with regard to the Asian district, or a district defined by a large Asian population. Now, people at home can take a closer look at the map on our website to see what district they landed in. But finally, Katie, how do they know who represents them now, today, after all of this?
Well, technically, these boundary lines take effect 30 days after the commission approves them. But the city attorney has issued an opinion saying that people really, for the most part, won't see any change until December 2012, after we have a council member for the new district elected. From that point on, we'll go forward acting as if we have these new districts. But until then, everybody should probably just assume that the council member they've had for the past several years is their council member going forward.
Thanks, Metro reporter Katie Orr. Earlier this month, the Obama administration announced a major change to its immigration policy. It's instructing immigration and customs enforcement officials to use discretion when deporting illegal immigrants. The Director of Homeland Security says agents should focus limited resources on deporting illegal immigrants who have committed crimes, not those who pose no security risk. Joining me to talk about how this change will affect the city of Escondido is Police Chief Jim Mahar. Now, Chief, your city has a reputation of taking a hard line when it comes to illegal immigrants in Escondido, in particular, your DUI check stops. Is this policy change going to change your policy with regard to having these check stops where you pull people over? Ultimately, I mean, I think last year you had more than 500 that were turned over to ICE, illegal immigrants. Are you going to change that?
No, we're not. First off, there is a reputation that we take a hard line against undocumented illegals, but The truth is we don't. We have a very clear-cut policy. If you're in this country illegally, but you're not committing any other crime, you're really not an issue for local law enforcement. In fact, we probably restrict our officers more than many other agencies do. We don't turn people over to Border Patrol just for simply being illegal.
I think the criticism comes with the fact that you have these check stops at all. We know in California it's illegal to just pull people over to ask for their driver's license. Of course, undocumented immigrants can't get a license in California. So I think the criticism is, why do you have these checkpoints? And to begin with, I mean, I think the sort of the sentiment is, are you doing this as sort of a search for illegal immigrants?
And this is a great opportunity to get out some of the truth. We do checkpoints, and so do most of the other cities in this county, but if you look at the media articles, you would come to think that Escondido is the only one doing checkpoints or doing far more than others, and that isn't true. In this county, we're about in the middle. Secondly, the checkpoints have nothing to do with immigration, and of those 500 plus criminal aliens that we've turned over to ICE in the past year or so, maybe 2 or 3 came from a checkpoint. The majority are from other routine police work.
So when you talk about criminal illegal immigrants, what kinds of crimes? Aren't these sort of DUIs? Also, if you've been deported formally before, that's considered a crime?
Yes. We will pretty much take anyone who's been convicted of a crime in this country, maybe excluding some very minor traffic, but we don't consider drunk driving minor. And secondly, if someone has been formally deported, then their reentry is considered a felony, and so we will also turn those over to ICE. What you've seen in the change in the president's policy is that even fewer criminal aliens and prior deports are going to be prosecuted.
And what do you think of that? What do you think of this policy?
Well, it's not actually going to change anything about the way we do business, because currently, of those 500 plus criminal aliens we turned over to ICE, less than 30 have been prosecuted. I'm not even sure the exact number, but maybe as low as 10. So for the most part, it's not the fault of the ICE or the U.S. Attorney or anything else. There's just too much to prosecute them all, so they have to pick and choose the most serious.
Really what the president is saying, or what the director of Homeland Security is saying in this new directive is, look, we have limited resources. The whole point of doing this is to make sure our country is safe. That's really ultimately our job. Do you think you're making Escondido any safer by having these checkpoints and turning over these people to ICE?
Yeah, we absolutely do. But again, I want to make the point again that checkpoints are totally separated from any immigration policy issues. They were started before this became an issue with the illegal immigrant activists, and we've done these since the 80s. We've done driver's license checkpoints, which we now call traffic safety checkpoints, since 2004, totally unrelated to immigration.
Escondido Police Chief Jim Mahar, thanks for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you.
We checked in with San Diego ICE officials about the status of people currently held in a federal detention center in Otay Mesa. Of the 647 immigrants being held, 382 have committed crimes. We were unable to get an official comment from ICE with regard to the fate of the 265 with no criminal convictions. The new policy does allow officials to cancel deportation orders. Well, poker is hot right now, and if you want to get out and play a hand, there are 2 places within the city of San Diego to do that. But KPBS Metro reporter Katie Orr says that may not always be the case.
I'm here at the Palomar Card Club in North Park. It's a Thursday afternoon and this place is packed. But unless the rules change, all of these people will have to find somewhere else to play.
Hey, you got a bonus. Hey.
Pat O'Malley has been coming to the Palomar for more than 15 years. He's a retiree and says playing cards is his pastime. He plays about 3 days a week.
It's 10, 15 minutes from the house. It's much easier than going all the way out to the casinos and that. And it's like a home place. You know, everybody's friendly. Everybody knows your name.
Look at the Irish.
O'Malley says he sees more young people coming to the club lately as poker sheds its seedy reputation and becomes a form of popular mainstream entertainment. But San Diego city rules haven't kept up with the times. Currently, the law says when the owners of the city's last 2 card rooms pass away, their businesses have to close up shop too. Nick Salem is general manager of the Palomar Card Club. He says the law isn't fair. Now the owners of his card club and the Lucky Lady, the city's other card room, are in the beginning stages of trying to change the law. Salem estimates between 70 and 80 jobs at each club could be lost if the law isn't changed.
Keeping our job is very important for all of us, and obviously it's good for everyone. You have just a good, successful business going and not stopping, not shutting down after a while. And San Diego, every city now with this economy needs that.
San Diego is the only city in the county that limits ownership transfers. The rules were passed in the 1980s. The law was meant to gradually phase out the businesses. The owners of the remaining 2 rooms are now in their 70s. Councilwoman Marty Emerald's district includes the Lucky Lady. She says the card rooms haven't proved to be the nuisances officials were once worried they would be.
There's no question that these businesses can be successful. It's just that we've inherited an ordinance that says we're phasing them out. And until the city attorney tells us that we can reverse it or gives us more meat that we can chew on here, we'll have to wait and see what the city can or is willing to do.
The city has made an effort to help out the card rooms. A council committee recently recommended allowing 2 more tables at each for a total of 11 tables per card room. And the business districts for the College area and El Cajon Boulevard have written in support of changing the ownership regulations so the rooms can continue to operate. But San Diego State gaming professor Jeff Boyles says laws are difficult to change, especially when it comes to gambling.
It's a very close-knit business and industry, so there's not a lot of people out there that can operate card rooms or understand the logistics behind a card room. So I don't see it changing very quickly.
Still, Boyle says poker is becoming a more accepted form of mainstream entertainment. That's something the city's last 2 card rooms hope will work in their favor as San Diego begins considering whether to let the rooms play another round. Katie Orr, KPBS News.
The Film Out Film Festival continues this weekend in San Diego. The event celebrates movies by and about the lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender community. Earlier this week, I spoke with Michael McQuiggan, programmer for Film Out, and Russell Schaefer, the director of one of the movies which will be screened this weekend. Michael, let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about how all of this got started.
Initially, it got started in the early 90s by my friend Joe Forelli, who wanted to create a film festival, so he decided to make it his thesis project at SDSU. So he did the festival for a few years, then it changed. Then he stopped doing it for a little bit, and then we had another organization in LA come down and take over the festival, and then we decided, well, we didn't have much control, so we decided we'll part ways. After those 3 years, and then we relaunched Film Out in 2004. Joe moved to New York, I took it over, and it's just kind of snowballed into our 13th year.
And what's the mission? What do you hope to achieve through this film festival?
We want to, well, first of all, we want to support film as art. And secondly, we want people to see films that normally won't be shown in San Diego. And so for the audiences to come to San Diego, whether they're in San Diego or LA or Palm Springs, they get to see a film that they won't get to see and necessarily may not ever make it to DVD. So we want to have an experience where they can see it collectively in a theater on the big screen.
So Russell, you have one of these films that's going to be shown on Sunday. Tell us a little bit about your movie.
My film is about a 3-minute long experimental film shot on black and white reversal. It's totally silent. It was edited on an old Steenbeck, like literally with a razor. So it's a practice that really doesn't happen anymore, and it deals with the relationships people form in kind of big city situations.
So why did you choose black and white silent movie?
Well, the film itself is dealing with trying to strip away all the artifice sort of that happens in big city life. I just moved to New York, and so it felt to me like using color film or using sound was sort of a contradiction to that, trying to strip everything down. So really that was one of the main reasons, is trying to, both in practice and in narrative, keep that element there.
And you are one of the local filmmakers that's going to be showcased. So how did it feel knowing that your film is going to be shown at this festival, knowing that you're from San Diego? When you found out, what were you thinking?
I was thrilled, actually. I mean, I sent it off, and like a week later, Michael...
I got him right away.
Immediately.
Yeah, it was great because, first of all, I was in black and white. I was like, great. And it was silent. And I'm like, and you know, it just was something that it was refreshing to see, because you know we get shorts from all over the world, and right away I was like, oh, this is local. This is exactly like right up my alley, the type of stuff that I like. A little bit of experimental vibe going on, and that's why I responded right away and said, you're in.
Yes.
So what other kinds of movies will people see this weekend? There's 60 films. Can you sort of give us an idea of the range of films?
Yeah, the range this weekend is fantastic. We have 2 West Coast premieres. One is The Wishmakers of West Hollywood, and the other is called What Happens Next. They're both romantic comedies, but they're really cute and charming. And then we have 2 films directly from Sundance, and one is called Gun Hill Road, and the other is from Iran called Circumstance. And then we have our fabulous short films on Sunday, followed by our closing night film, The Green.
We don't have a lot of time, Michael, but tell us what kind of response you've gotten from the community to this film festival.
The community is extremely supportive. The past few years, we've wanted to expand the name Film Out to San Diego, so we started doing monthly films as well. Kind of more films that are kind of cult films that kind of appeal to everybody. So that's brought in a more of a diverse audience. So we just want to get the word out there that, you know, this Film Out's here, we're surviving, and we want people to come and enjoy it.
The website people can go to for more
www.filmoutsandiego.com.
Great. Michael McQuiggan and Russell Schaefer, thanks for being here.
Thank you
very much.
And now here's Dwayne Brown with a look at what KPBS is working on for next week.
It's a little bit of country right here in the middle of the big city. We're going to take a look at urban farming in San Diego, from community gardens to restaurants that bring you food fresh from their own yards. That's coming up next week here on KPBS.
As we get closer to the anniversary of 9/11, we continue to ask you a series of questions about how life in America changed since the attack and about war. This week we ask, how would you describe current relations between Muslims and non-Muslims in the United States? We went to the Oceanside Farmers Market to get some answers.
Many people are racial against them right now. As in the farmers market, you can see it plainly. In the Army, you see it, it's everywhere. They feel that that one person that caused a problem, his race is all responsible, and I don't feel that's right, but it's a fact of life right now.
When it comes down to their religion, it doesn't seem like it's quite as nice. You know, they have a lot of things that they don't like about us Americans.
I was in Desert Storm, and you know, they treated us very well over there when we were there. I don't know. I don't know how other people perceive it, but I had met a lot of people over there that I liked, and I don't perceive them as being a threat.
It seems like Muslims are seen in a bad reputation right now, but I don't think they should be blamed. It's not everyone that caused 9/11, you know?
I think the relationship is a bit misunderstood because there's a lot of lack of understanding between both cultures and both religions. So, for instance, as a non-Muslim, I don't really understand all the non-extreme Muslims, and I know there are good ones out there, but all we hear is the bad stuff. And the same thing from them. All they hear is about how we join in wars and try and kill people. So, just a lot of misunderstanding.
There are a lot of Americans now who are aware of what an Arab is, where they come from, where the Middle East is on a map, and what the Arab culture is like. For example, one of the things that I notice now is there's a lot of Arab restaurants now, way more so than before September 11th. You even see cultural neons that we have in the Middle East, like smoking hookah. It's kind of like an American public ritual right now. And so I didn't see so much of that before September 11th, but after, I definitely feel that there's more integration of society. So ironically, it kind of shed light into the Arab culture.
We also asked you to email your responses. Dr. Aaron Zahir of Rancho Penasquitos wrote to say that while at the personal level, he feels very welcomed into society, he believes there's a dark undercurrent at the political level. He writes, last year's efforts by some media outlets and politicians to portray the building of a mosque in New York as a victory for terrorists and the opposition to the building of a mosque in Temecula made Muslims feel stereotyped and hated. Luckily, these political antics have been short-lived because they go against the character of America as an accepting and inclusive society. Finally, we leave you tonight with an image of war and friendship. This photo of Navy SEAL John Tummelson being laid to rest last week and his dog Hawkeye. Tummelson, a former San Diego resident, was killed August 6th in the Chinook helicopter crash that also claimed the lives of 29 other American service members. His dog Hawkeye refused to leave his side during the service. The photo was taken by Lisa Pembleton, Tummelson's cousin, and sent to our military blogger Beth Ford Roth. You can read more about John Tummelson and his dog at homepost.kpbs.org. Well, you can also see the other stories we covered tonight on our website at kpbs.org/SDweek. Now, here's a look at your weekend weather forecast. Thanks for watching. Good night.